We are visiting Diane Gilbert in her sculpture studio in downtown Columbia. And Diane, you are from Quebec, and I understand that y'all were often outdoors with such a big family.
Yes, we did a lot of outdoor thing. We mostly lived outdoor when you're so crowded in a big house, you know.
How many children were in your family?
I'm the last of 15.
And your father was an engineer, and he had a special interest in the outdoors.
Oh yes, and he actually was very interested in mushroom, you know, so we went into mushroom hunting every weekend. So that, you know, that's another reason to be outside.
And when you're hunting mushrooms, of course, you're going to see animals in the woods, you're going to see insects.
Creatures.
And so how did all of this come together for you? You've had a very varied career.
Yes, I studied to be a costume designer, and I was there for many years, working for cinema, opera, theater, etc. But I always came back to animals, whatever I try or not, you know, it's natural. I had that specialty of doing animal costume, mascots.
When you moved to South Carolina, it looks like you've paid a lot of attention to the animals that are here now. I see alligators and black bears, but also you were interested in a bird that is no longer here. Tell us that story, please.
The Carolina parakeet. It's a bird who disappeared completely in 1938 or around that date. You have many reasons why it disappeared, so I did carve the story on his belly. The story of why it disappeared. You have the deforestation first. You have, of course, woman hat at the time. It was beautiful feathers, so they used that for it.
And now extinct, but one thing that almost was extinct and isn't is the alligator.
No, it's not.
You have a small studio, and this is a great big piece. How do you accomplish that?
I work patiently. I work in pieces, because first my kiln is limited in space. But even if it was bigger, I cannot work that big in clay, because with the expansion and shrinkage on the kiln, it will crack if it's too big and too heavy. So I kind of put them in pieces that fit together. I develop a technique to make sure it still fit together after the firing.
You also have a fantasy side to your work, and where do those unusual dragons and monsters and guard birds come from?
That's a good question. I think everybody has some fantasy land in their mind, but the wonderful thing about those dragon and thing, it's you can do whatever you want. You know, you're not limited to what is and already exists. So.
In South Carolina, insects are such a part of our life all the time, and you seem to have a great interest in insects. Tell me about your sculptures of insects.
Okay, I love insects in general. I love people who love insects. I'm very interested of everything about them, interaction between them, and they are extremely important, you know, and for us, you know, we need them to keep going.
And some of the reasons they make us go are certain insects like the fire ant and the mosquito that you have here.
Absolutely.
And outdoors you have a very large mosquito, and he's so realistic. How did you achieve that?
It was a project that I started at one point. I did want to shrink people, so I did want to make mosquitoes and different insects bigger. And I start with 200 times magnified. I did that mosquito. I did the fire ant and a cat flea. But the cat flea is that size, and beside the mosquitoes, you can see the interaction between them too. Something we don't imagine, you know. So that was another point in shrinking people and make them realize, you know, they are not all small. Some are.
The ocean is so close to us, and we love it so much. And it looks like you've developed a real interest in the animals that are found there as well.
Yes, it's the mysterious place, you know, the ocean. So Yes, I did the shark. I love to do shark. I love to do everything with a lot of teeth, like the viper fish and octopus, blowfish. It was pretty mean. It got his not teeth, but a lot of thorn.
So things that we like, sometimes we need to be cautious because they carry hidden harms, don't they?
Let's say they have a lot of character,
And now I'm going to shift gears because as a French Canadian who's married to a French Canadian chef, you have kind of a natural instinct in gardening and cooking, and this is a new avenue in your life. Tell me what's going on there.
Yes, it is. I just start growing hot peppers, and I did that little mixture that I dared to call hot sauce until my husband took over with it, and he did something so good that I had to concede. And okay, that's your part. So we did start that little business of hot sauce. We call it the brand is Meet Your Cremator.
That's great fun, and I've used some of them, and they do have a great range from very easy to use or just be very careful. One drop.
Very careful. Some are really, really hot. So.
Yeah, and I've had a wonderful experience visiting you and seeing your work, getting to know you, and I think other people would love to know more about your fascinating art. So please tell us how we can find out more.
I have a website at www.dianegilbert.com. I have also a Facebook page where I did put several sculptures, Diane Gilbert Sculptor or Diane Gilbert Sculpture.
Well, however you say it, the work is extraordinarily beautiful and varied, and we have had a grand visit. We thank you so much for letting us visit you in your home today.
Thank you very much for coming.